all the time.
Sarah had been trying to write a book for ages, but she was still on page 1 until she discovered SpeakYourOwnBook.com. Sarah teamed up with one of our trained writing coaches who listened to Sarah's book idea, asked the right questions, and guided Sarah every step of the way. In 90 minutes, they had written the outline for Sarah's entire book. Within weeks, using the speak writing method, Sarah became a published author, both online and in print. Whether it's a textbook, an autobiography, a novel, or a children's book, SpeakYourOwnBook.com can help.
Yeah!
Visit our website today to download our free 50-question guide and schedule your free consultation. With Speak Writing, anyone can publish a book. Speak your own book today. You speak, we write.
A hand-carved natural quartz crystal ball made into a necklace for divination on the go. Crystal balls have been used for centuries in healing and cleansing rituals, as well as for divination. The sphere represents infinity and the circle of life. While a wand uses focused energy, the crystal ball sends out energy in all directions. This makes it a great resource for discovering the complete circumstances surrounding a question.
Thank you for tuning in to Pagan World TV. Welcome to the Gayle Tracey Mull Show with Gayle Tracey Mull. Gayle is a catalyst for change. She can help you create the life that you dream of living. Gayle walks the path of the wounded healer. She is a psychic reader and life coach, as well as a Reiki master in 2 traditions. She has a long and varied background in the mystical, the magical, and the metaphysical. Please welcome your host, Gayle Tracey Mull.
Hello, this is the Gayle Tracey Mull Show, and I am Gayle Tracey Mull. And tonight, I have a really neat show for you. We are talking to Austin Verret, and he is the owner of Broken Leaf Tea. He actually is a certified Master Herbalist. And I'm really interested in tea as medicine. I hope all of you guys are as well, because, you know, here on our show, we try and find things that can help people create their own best possible life. And that's what I'm here to do, is to guide you on that path. And tea for me has been absolutely wonderful. I don't drink things now that were way worse for me because of tea. And I am really looking forward to this conversation with Austin. And just a little disclaimer here at the beginning, neither one of us are medical professionals or offering any medical advice. These are personal opinions, but tea has been used for thousands of years as medicine. Um, and we're going to learn a little bit more about that tonight. So, without further ado, Austin Verret.
All right, thank you for having me.
Yes, I am so excited. Um, Austin actually was speaking at an engagement where my friend Julie Rainwater heard him talk, and she said, "You have got to have this guy. Oh, he's just so knowledgeable." That's something coming from her. It really is. That's a high compliment.
Well, I definitely appreciate the compliments, and we're actually going to be speaking there again this coming weekend.
Oh, that's good. Yes, Austin actually goes and does public speaking and teaches people about herbal teas, although, or medicinal teas, although that's not all that your business is about, correct?
Correct. So we do flavored teas as well, just stuff that is really good to drink. We sell high quality pure teas, flavored teas, iced teas, all of that stuff. And then on the apothecary side of things, we do more than just tea there as well. We make our own tinctures, balms. We call ourselves a full-scale apothecary. So basically, if there is some sort of herbal remedy that you need, we'll make it for you or get it for you.
That is amazing. And right now, Austin's business is online. You can find that link in the show. They post them, but it's brokenleaftea.com. And his Facebook is, let me see if I get this right, Broken Leaf Tea and Apothecary.
Yes, absolutely.
So, what, because I'm trying to think like the people out there, what is an apothecary?
So the way we explain it is apothecary is derived from the word apotheca, which is Greek, and it means a place where herbs and wine was kept. So in simple terms, we call it a herbal pharmacy.
Okay. You know, sometimes I know that people have a hard time with terminology because, you and I might be used to the terms, but we forget other people are out there are still learning.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big things that we focus on, especially in the region that we live in, is herbalism isn't very well known. And so we do try to do a lot of education, and part of that is the terminology as well.
Mm-hmm. I think herbalism is making a huge comeback.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think all types of holistic medicine are making a comeback. But people need knowledge. And, one of the things you and I discussed a little bit the other day is there's a lot of bad knowledge out there as well.
Unfortunately, yeah. We deal a lot with that when we talk to people. There's a lot of pop culture herbalism, as I like to call it, fads that go around that are based around herbs and different things like that, that don't necessarily have much either historical use or scientific use for that specific herb. For example, a lot of people turned to chamomile to help them sleep, when in reality, chamomile helps you relax, but in no way, shape, or form does it actually help you sleep.
Can you think of some other things that are out there in pop culture? Like, I'm trying to think of one that I've heard so that I can ask you. Like goji berry is supposed to be this big, powerful brain thing and memorization thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I can actually go for days about different pop culture and false information on herbs. Goji berry is actually really good for you. But one of the others that is commonly misconstrued and one that can actually be dangerous is actually red raspberry leaf. And we discussed this briefly the other day. It is a big deal in a lot of pregnancy blends. And while red raspberry leaf is really good in late trimesters of pregnancy, it can actually cause miscarriages in early trimesters of pregnancy. So there are a lot of herbal blends and stuff, not even just herbal blends, but tea blends as well that aren't necessarily considered herbal, that have red raspberry leaf in them, that if you're not familiar with herbs and you don't know about them, that could cause serious issues.
So, if somebody is going to take something, I mean, they should always consult the doctor. But, a lot of times doctors poo poo herbal medicine. They're like, and they just don't want you to take anything, especially whenever you're pregnant. And speaking as a person who has been pregnant, sometimes you need some extra help.
Absolutely. What we do, you're completely right about the doctor's thing. We do always, of course, have to, put that out there and definitely double check with your doctor before taking any sort of herbal supplement, especially if you already have a pre-existing condition, such as pregnancy. That is super important because there are a lot of herbs out there that can hurt you. Because herbs are just like medications. If you take them wrong or take them in combination with some other medication, you could have really bad side effects from it. But as you said, also, a lot of doctors will, if they don't know about it, they'll simply shut it down and just say, no, don't take that because I'm not familiar with it.
So do you have any place that you can recommend that people can go? For instance, they've heard about this wonderful tea, their best friends used it, whatever, and they want to do their own research to make sure it's safe because, it can be other things other than pregnancy. It can be because they're diabetic, they have high blood pressure, whatever. Where is a good place and a reputable place to do research?
Well, we are always open for questions. One of our things is we say knowledge is power. And so knowledge is also free from our eyes. We will always answer questions and spread knowledge. So if you have questions, you can always go to our website and message us. Otherwise, there are a lot of herbalists out there. And while there's a lot of bad information, there are a lot of them that know what they're doing. A good way to tell if the herbalist that you're talking to is knowledgeable is figure out their background. Where did they go to school? Did they go to school? Because in America, there's a lot of people who call themselves herbalists that have no sort of actual learning whatsoever. And just see and kind of research who you're talking to. There's also some good online resources as well to learn more about herbs. One of the ones that I use extensively is called the Herbarium from the Herbal Academy, and it's really good information on there.
Okay, Herbarium?
The Herbarium, yes. It's a program, it's a subscription program from the Herbal Academy.
Okay. So if you want to know more about that, I suggest that you go ahead and message Austin's Facebook page because I get that you check it pretty often.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. I know that I am definitely going to be contacting you more because this is something that I wanted to learn more about it because I'm one of those people that medication and me don't get along so well. My body just doesn't respond well to prescription medications. Not that I'm knocking them. I mean, for some people, it's definitely the way to go. But for me, if there's a side effect for it, I get it.
And we talk to a lot of people who are like that as well, who either they've been on prescriptions for years and it's just not having the desired effects that they want, or they have terrible side effects. One of the things that we find a lot actually is that for people who are not used to taking herbal medicines, the first time that you do it will hit you like a truck. You would just be absolutely amazed at the benefits. Of course, that being said, one of the things I do like to point out is that herbalism is a therapy. For a lot of people, it does take time to build up in your system and to have the desired effects that you're looking for. That's kind of the general way of looking at things, but there are a lot of times that the first time that you take an herb, you will receive an effect from it. especially for things like arthritis, pain relief, and that sort of stuff.
Right. Well, if I understand it correctly, herbalism it's a cumulative effect.
Yes.
In other words, it's something that you have to stick with. It's over a long period of time because people don't realize this, but even cooking with herbs, if you continually use herbs and good quality herbs, it affects your health.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just like prescription medications. If doctor gives you a bottle of pills and you only take half of them, it's probably not going to do you good. Like I said, it's a therapy. You do have to have that period of time where you use it to really see a full desired effect from it. Of course, we do have some stuff that I like to call like herbal first aid. That's not necessarily having to take a therapy to fix an issue, but stuff you can go take, like for upset stomachs, you can take some peppermint to help your stomach. That sort of stuff isn't necessarily something you're going to have to take over long periods in order to see a benefit from. But anything that you're trying to help either like a chronic issue or something like that, you will have to take therapeutically and take for a long period.
So do you have like a therapeutic first aid kit type of thing that from your company or?
Funny enough, we don't have like a product that we would consider a herbal first aid kit. But funny enough, that's actually one of the topics that I'm going to be speaking on this upcoming weekend is a herbal first aid kit, and kind of dealing with using herbs to treat various everyday issues rather than kind of the chronic side of herbalism. But again, we're always open for questions. So if there's something that, you have a continual use or continual issues with, like headaches pop up, you want a herbal first aid kit for just kind of anything that you possibly could have issues with, you can always shoot us a message and we can always kind of sit down with you and figure out what all you're looking for.
I hope you record that particular discussion. I think that it's going to be really neat and really popular, and maybe a video that you can put up some of the little tips and tricks.
Absolutely. I believe we do record it actually. So
I am really looking forward to it. I'm going to be somewhere else. I'm actually doing the psychic fair that weekend.
Okay.
Otherwise, I would definitely come and see you. But, one of the things that for me personally is neat. My grandson is 11 years old, and he helps me with the garden every year. And he is fascinated by the fact that you can eat herbs and vegetables out of the garden. This is like mind-blowing for him.
Absolutely. We have a 3-year-old, and of course I have to get her learned in the ways of herbs. So it's not very often that we go outside that she's not spotting an herb, and she already at 3 knows what they are for certain ones that we have grown in the yard. So
I would encourage you, because that's one of the things that I have a hard time because I didn't grow up that way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really nice if people can go on herbal walks and actually be able to spot things in the wild and to learn, because literally there's things all around us. Am I correct?
Absolutely. And of course, that's one of the things that I'm still learning as well myself. I learned what they did before I learned how to, identify them. But there are tons of medicine just in your backyard. Right now in our yard, I can list off probably around 5 different herbs that just grow wild in our yard. That's great for various things, and one of the biggest crimes is the whole concept of manicured yards, because you lose all of that benefits whenever you have a pristine grass yard. And so we really enjoy being able to go outside and just find herbs and different various stuff in our yard.
I am there with you. I have been looking at the concept of the Victory Garden, and also I've done a lot of research about it. And grass and yards are one of the biggest waste of time, money, resources, land, water in the U.S. today. And I know I'm going to get all sorts of people out there that are mad. Oh, I love my green grass,
Well, funny enough, the history of it, because I enjoy me some history, especially when it comes to herbalism. The whole concept of manicure yard come from either the medieval or Renaissance period, where the royalty they used it to show their wealth because it was land that they didn't have to use to plant food. They were so wealthy, they had all this food, so it was kind of a show to the peasants that, hey, look, we have all this land and we don't even have to grow stuff on it. We just have just grass, because grass was useless.
Hmm. And now we all have this useless grass that we spend all this time, money, and effort on.
Absolutely. Yep.
Actually, my yard is not like that. I don't have much grass at all. I have flower beds and plants, and my whole side yard. I am trying to garden, not always successfully, but I'm trying.
Yeah. There as well.
You know, I'm all about native bees instead of honey bees. And, you know, there's information out there. I actually saw a video the other day about a 60-year-old man, and he had a half acre of front yard, and he made $7,500 a month. And he had his own little co-op that he fed 80 people, not 80 people, 80 families, excuse me. And they took the rest to the farmer's market.
Wow, that's impressive on half an acre.
Yeah, but I mean, he had it all regimented. You know, he had all the grass, he had all of his crops. I was just totally mind blown. You know.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you know, you think, oh, well, how does that pertain to herbalism? But it does.
Absolutely, it does. Because when we replace the natural gardens and all of that stuff with just boring and plain grass and landscaping plants, you lose all of that that medicine that just grows wild in your yard. There's so much stuff that just grows native to different various regions that whenever you tear it all up to plant pristine lawns, you lose it all.
Well, that and native plants are much better for you too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Isn't there something like native honey is supposed to be better for you for the pollen? You know, like native fruits and vegetables, they're better for your digestive system than, say, something for me like grown in Mexico.
Absolutely. And the thing about the honey is how it works is if you have really bad allergies, the honeybees take pollen from your local area. So whenever you ingest the honey from your local region, you're ingesting small amounts of that pollen. So it kind of works similar to how a vaccine would work in the fact that you're ingesting small bits of it and your body is getting more acclimated to it. So it helps with your allergies in that aspect. But if all of your honey is imported from way out of state, you're losing all of that benefit from the local plants.
Yes, and the same goes for local food. It's more acclimatized to your body than something from another region.
Yes, absolutely.
So, buy local.
Definitely,
local.
definitely.
But at the same time, it's very nice to be able to find people like you online that you can do reputable things and do the tinctures and all of the different things. And one of the things you and I talked about was the fact that you actually did an online degree with in England, correct?
Correct, yes. I did an online school called the Center of Excellence. And the reason that I did it from the UK is because their herbalism is protected. And so, whereas from here, there's tons of different herbal schools located here in the US, but there's no really kind of governing body over it. So they could be just some random guy in your backyard trying to teach you stuff like it's fact. Which, if that's your thing, that's totally fine. There's plenty of herbalists who make their medicine just from learning stuff in their backyard. But as a business owner, I wanted to make sure that the information I was putting out there is 100% correct, as get the best base of knowledge that I possibly can. And so through my research, that's what I found was a school from the UK is going to be the best way of doing that.
Yes, because don't they use herbalism alongside medication?
Yeah, so it goes back a long way. It was actually Henry VIII himself had a interest in herbalism, and whenever we think about medicine in the Renaissance and medieval periods, a lot of the times we look back and say, "Oh, that's just a bunch of quacks doing stuff and stuff like that."
Leeches on people and
Yes,
weird
so funny.
stuff. Yeah.
But yes, so funny enough, that was not herbalism. The doctors of the time would treat people using the things like arsenic and mercury and leeches. And King Henry VIII, since he had the interest in herbalism, he actually made a charter called the Herbalist Charter that protected herbalists. And the doctors of the time did not like that. They actually made names for it and called it the Quack Charter, because to them, they saw herbalism as a quacky form of medicine. And one of the reasons being was
medicine.
Yes, it was folk medicine. And one of the reasons being that they took that stance was because that was the only medicine that the poor people could afford.
Mm-hmm.
And so, funny enough, after all this time, we find out that the herbal medicine is more scientifically based than the arsenic and mercury and leeches that the doctors of the time would prescribe and use.
Not to downgrade the medical professionals out there, because they have had a really hard time and they work really hard, but I think respect needs to be given for both paths.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Either way is a lot of schooling and learning.
Yes, a lot of schooling and learning. And I think that it's fair to say that over in the UK, they're way ahead of us in herbal medicine, correct?
Absolutely. Like I said, they have that more governing body over herbalism. And so, whereas here, anybody can pick up some herbs and go and sell it in their shop and have no idea what they actually do. Whereas there, you actually have to have some knowledge in order to be able to do your herbal products. And that was part of the chapter that still even goes on today, is that basically how it works is, or at least from that period, I may have changed a little bit over time, but as long as you had knowledge of the use of herbs, you were protected to be able to use them to heal people. Whereas a big issue here is we are a lot of the time scrutinized when it comes to herbal medicine. And we're very much so behind the times on that, where it's a lot harder for us to practice and heal people who could possibly, otherwise not afford prescription medications or the like.
Right. And, I've noticed a disturbing trend that whenever something in, my local health food store has it, and I really, really like it, all of a sudden the supply dries up on it.
Yes, that's a big issue. That's one of my things that I have to kind of balance with or deal with in our line of working, is some of the herbs that I really, really rely on are very iffy on if they're going to be in stock or not. Chamomile goes through seasons where it's just super, super hard to get. And I use chamomile for a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. So you have to learn what's an alternative you can use during those seasons.
Absolutely, because there's hundreds of herbs out there. So while I do have my stuff I rely on, there are alternatives for pretty much everything you need.
And you just have to, you're like everybody else. You have to flow with the times and change according to what's available.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One of the things that I like that you had told me about your studies is you actually do the contraindications for how it will interact with your medicines.
Absolutely. And kind of going back to your question a while back on how do you know that somebody is a reputable source, that is definitely something to look at, is contraindications on products. Because like I said earlier, herbs are just like medications. So everything can conflict with, well, not all herbs, but most herbs can have conflictions with either medications or conditions or various different things like that. which if you do incorrectly could really hurt somebody. So all of our products have contraindications listed on there. Don't take it if you are pregnant. Don't take it if you have thyroid issues. Don't take if you have heart medications and stuff like that. I find that is a really, really big thing that is lacking with a lot of herbal products, especially on stuff that is made by like big companies and stuff like that want to sell their wellness blends or whatever. They don't have any of that stuff listed on their packaging, and we make sure that we do.
Yeah, and another thing is, there's the whole organic versus non-organic. That's also a big deal because you don't know what has been sprayed on it, what's been used to preserve it.
Absolutely. And we try to do organic as much as possible. The thing is, with wild foraged herbs, you can't necessarily certify that they're organic because they're wild foraged. And so you can't monitor the process. And so a lot of the herbs that I get are wild foraged. But we do try to use as much stuff that is certified organic as is possible.
Right. And there's a lot of debate about how you certify something organic and all natural, and the hoops you have to jump through to get that organic label, and people don't realize the battle that goes on over labeling.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That is a huge issue running a business, especially an herbal business. And like you mentioned, the funny thing about the whole labeling with the organics and stuff like that is when it comes to like tea, for instance, all of that comes overseas because, it's like coffee where region picks on what kind of tea is produced. There's a lot of people overseas that will mark something as organic simply because they don't have a governing body that says, yeah, this is actually organic or not. So if you buy USA made products that say they're certified organic, they're going to be actually certified organic. But a lot of the stuff that comes overseas that calls itself organic may not actually be certified in the same way that it is here.
Right. So you really have to get to know your sources and who's on the other end and make an educated decision as to whether you actually believe them or not.
Absolutely. That is a huge deal.
Yeah. I can only imagine the pain of that.
Well, thankfully for our teas and stuff, we use a third party who does all that for us, so I don't have to deal with that personally.
That is good, at least for the teas that you can do that. And I think people are going to tune in to watch this again and again and again because it's very informational. And one of the things that we had wanted to talk about today is just exactly the difference between holistic and or herbal medicine and modern Western medicine. So I'll let you.
Absolutely. So first off, whenever I'm speaking on herbalism, what I'm speaking on is we call it Western herbalism. So we look at things more so from the perspective of, we know that these herbs have these constituents in them and they do these particular things. There are other methods of herbalisms that do things slightly different. And there's different practices when it comes to that. So when we try to heal, what we're looking really at is doing holistic healing. So what that is just like how when we use herbs, we're using the whole plant instead of specific extracted parts of a plant. That the wholeness of that produces a better, outcome than trying to use just singly extracted bits. So likewise, whenever we're trying to heal a person, we are trying to heal the whole person. We're not trying to treat symptoms or necessarily single pieces. So, for example, if somebody comes to me and they have colds all the time, a lot of people would just simply try to give them medicine to treat the cold. However, what we would do is we would try to look at why are you getting colds all the time? What is the root cause of that? And that's really what holistic healing goes towards, is finding the root cause of issues.
Right. And it's also about treating the whole person.
Yes, the whole person.
Because, a lot of the things that I do with Reiki, the EFT, all of those things, I often find emotional issues are the root causes of physical pains.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know how many times that after talking with somebody, they find out that really the cause of all their issues is actually stemming from stress and anxiety. That is probably one of the number one things that we help people with, is stress and anxiety issues. And so they'll have some, and all sorts of issues stem from that alone.
Everybody in our society has stress and anxiety.
Yes.
I do not care who you are, you have stress and anxiety about something.
Absolutely.
And I hate to say it, but I don't think that the here, take a pill approach that Western medicine has with a lot of anxiety has done much for people.
No, it really hasn't. In fact, a lot of those medications that treat that thing specifically have terrible, terrible side effects. And even with what we do, yes, I'm an herbalist and I deal with herbs, but a lot of the times when we're dealing with stuff, especially caused by stress and anxiety, the first thing we look at is lifestyle changes. Are you doing something that is causing your stress and anxiety that you can change? Herbs are not always the first route that we take when we're trying to help somebody.
No, sometimes it's about taking stuff away.
Yes.
I have a friend who had very debilitating panic attacks. And one of the main things she had to do is get rid of caffeine.
Yep. Funny story here actually is I actually had maybe about a year ago now, I'm not sure. I actually got sent to the ER thinking I was having a heart attack, and what it actually was a caffeine-induced panic attack. So I can no longer drink coffee or energy drinks. Tea is fine for me because it's like a clean caffeine. But anything that is like a coffee-based or like an energy drink, I can't drink it anymore.
Yeah, and that is not the only thing that she had to do, but it was a big, big trigger for panic attacks.
Yeah.
So working with somebody about your nutrition, for instance, I have hearing loss. One of the things that I have found out is sugar. Sugar is very bad for me in hearing loss.
Yeah, it's every body is different and your bodies work differently. So it's very interesting to sit down and talk with somebody and find root causes of their issues, because it could be something that you would have never imagined.
So one of the things that needs to be said is Western medicine does not look at root causes.
Right. So that's one of the biggest downfalls, in my opinion, of Western medicine, is that we have a society that likes to treat symptoms. Now, we can get into all sort of talkings of why, but the issue with that is if I simply treat your symptoms and send you home, well, you're simply going to come back to me within a few months with the same problem over again, if I haven't treated the root cause of it. So that's a huge issue, and probably one of the reasons why so many people have medical debt right now is because that's what we'd like to do, is we'd like to treat symptoms. Now, as an herbalist, we do treat symptoms as well, but we do that alongside treatments for the root cause. Because obviously you're going to say, hey, this stuff doesn't work if I just give you something to treat the root cause and you're not seeing any daily improvement.
So as a herbalist, and if I'm telling you that I'm not sleeping, you might actually tell me, well, you need to look at what you're eating, you need to look at your exercise.
One of the biggest things when it comes to sleep is bedtime routines. That's one of our two things when we're talking with people is, what is your routine? Do you even have a routine? Usually simply just setting up a bedtime routine is usually going to help you out.
Yeah, absolutely. But all of those things, and you know, me doing Reiki, I do EFT, I work with people from a little bit different perspective than you do.
Right.
But I tend to tell people, why don't you talk to Austin? Why, you might can add this into your routine. This
Absolutely.
might be something that'll work for you.
Absolutely. And, we do herbalism, but if you find something that works for you, obviously if it's working, do it.
Mhm. Yeah, and realize that it's not a one size fits all answer.
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
know, a, an herb that works on somebody may not work the same on somebody else. Now, it should most of the time.
It will for most people. Most people will receive a similar benefit then to what everybody else receives. But you will occasionally get that one person out of everybody else who just for some reason doesn't work on them.
Yeah, it's just not as good. And like I said, it depends on the rest of the things that you're doing, because it is an overall approach
Yes.
to your life.
Absolutely.
It's just like having the garden and not having the grass, and doing they all of the things go together.
It all goes together, yes. You don't find as many people having issues that are very common with finding themselves in nature and finding themselves working in the gardens. Most of the people who come to me with issues typically live a city life or something like that. But that's a whole nother conversation there as well.
Yeah, that's a big one. Now then, I do not want people to think that we're downgrading medical professionals, though. And I do think that there are some medical professionals that are really moving more towards the holistic route, and those tend to be integrative health clinics.
Yes. I myself actually do know quite a few people who are health professionals who do like to do things naturally. And of course, as an herbalist, I don't do surgeries. There are definitely things that medical professionals are good for. My issue is simply just with pharmaceuticals, because a lot of them have bad effects. But there are the cases where you do need to have a very strong pharmaceutical medication.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, they have their point and their purpose. I think that the integrative health medicine route, though, it's combining the Western medicine with the more herbal and holistic medicine.
Absolutely.
And
And there is a way to do that. A lot of people will look at, if you're already on medications, you'll look at herbs and think, oh, this is dangerous for me to do, because there are contraindications and all this stuff. But if you simply look at the studies and, talk to somebody who knows about the contraindications, there is a safe way to integrate both prescription medications and herbals.
And I would highly recommend people looking for an integrated health professional or integrative health clinic. I'm seeing more and more of them here. I know that I've been told that up north there's more and more medical professionals that are going the integrative health route. So remember that as a key word, integrative health.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Um, okay, I know that there's so many things to talk to you about. Lost my train of thought. Um, we've already talked a little bit about how pharmaceutical companies, I mean, pharmaceutical companies are actually plant-based, correct?
Yes. So that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize is they'll look at herbs and say, oh, this is voodoo, it's snake oil, and all of this stuff. But just about every single one of your pharmaceuticals comes from a plant. The difference is really we're going back to the concept of holistic medicine. With your pharmaceuticals, you typically take a single constituent found in an herb, extract it, and then make it synthetic. That's really what a lot of your pharmaceutical medicines come from. Where we have with holistic medicine, instead of extracting a single constituent, we're using the whole plant, which we see typically works a lot better. I don't know how many studies I've come across on herbs that when you look at the herb and look at the benefit that it's giving, that the studies specifically say we're not sure what constituent does this, but we see that it has a massive effect. That there's, and I believe that really breaks down to the fact of using the whole herb and how those constituents play together.
And to get a little bit more spiritual on people, it's a God-given thing, the plant is. Breaking it apart, you're messing with an already perfect design, so to speak.
Absolutely. We believe that there is a cure for everything out there if you just got to try to find it.
Yeah, you just got to find the right thing to treat with. And we were going to go into things to help you build your immune system, and maybe also some of the things to be beware of, I guess we should say.
Absolutely. So actually, I'd like to start with the stuff to be aware of aspect of it. Whenever we are looking at immune systems, we a lot of times will turn to a supermarket or something like that to pick up a supplement. The thing to be aware of is that a lot of those supplements are simply filler. I know we had went and bought some elderberry supplements a while back, and then we turn it around and look at the packaging, and it's pretty much just like straight rice flour, and there's hardly any actual elderberry in it. So that is a huge thing, is making sure that you know what you're getting is actually going to be effective in what you want to achieve.
I am going to go home and look at the back of some of my bottles and see if they have, what are some fillers? Rice filler? What else?
There's a lot of rice filler. I honestly can't tell you just the different types of filler. I know the rice filler was the one that we had in ours. Maybe even looking at other like cheaper herbs or herbs that don't necessarily have the benefit that you're looking for. They may use those to fill it up as well, make it seem like it's more potent or more beneficial, when in reality it's just an herb that doesn't actually do anything.
So if it's a multi-herb, sometimes that can be good, but
sometimes it can be good, but sometimes they could throw herbs in there that are not doing anything towards the desired effect that you're wanting to do. Which is also something to be very weary of whenever you're buying like supermarket teas. Specifically like medicinal herbal teas, is a lot of the times these companies will sell tea blends that market them as like stomach blends or sleep blends or something like that, where when you actually look at what is in the tea, none of that actually does what they say it does.
So that might even be contraindicative of what you want it to do.
Yes, absolutely. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves is my wife actually tries to steer me away from that aisle, because I'll go down there and look at the packaging and I'll just be in a mood all day because I'm like, that doesn't do that.
She's like, don't even look. Don't
look at it. Yeah.
Don't even look. Okay. So definitely some things to be aware of. And a reason to go ahead and order things from somebody that you actually have vetted, and it's like vetting your pharmacist.
Pretty much, yes. Yeah, absolutely. Because there are a lot of like apothecaries and herbal people who, like I said, don't really know what they're doing. So they'll give you a product, you'll go home and try it out, and it just doesn't work. And so that gives us herbalists a bad name, because you have a lot of these people, especially in my area, who originally are very skeptical of herbalism. Then they'll go talk to someone.
If it doesn't work.
If it doesn't work because they were given the wrong products, well, then that's shut them off from it for forever. When it could really be beneficial to them and it can really help them.
Absolutely. What are things that you would recommend for building your immune system, since that is obviously a really big thing in our world?
Absolutely. So when looking at immune system, one of the things we do need to consider is, obviously, if you have an autoimmune disorder, building your immune system, probably not what you want to do, because it will flare up that autoimmune disorder. But for everybody else, some of the kind of premier herbs for building your immune system is the number one that everybody is going to really turn to and look at is echinacea. Echinacea is a really, really great herb for building your immune system. But one of the things about echinacea that most people don't realize is that its best work comes from rebuilding a fractured immune system. Everybody turns to it to kind of boost their immune system if they're already healthy. But the studies showed that with echinacea, it actually works better for somebody who has a more depleted immune system, especially whenever the issues come from stress related, as we were talking about earlier.
Okay.
So that's a really good herb. Elderberry is fantastic for fighting against colds and flus. Not necessarily as much so a immune booster per se, but it does help, prevent colds and flus and stuff like that. However, on notes on that, it is not necessarily the herb to turn towards for fighting colds and flus, which is what a lot of people, kind of the pop culture thing to do. Elderflower is actually more indicated for fighting colds and flus.
So these are things, the elderberry, the echinacea, that you should take to build your immune system before you get sick.
Yes, absolutely. Especially the elderberry for colds and flus, and like the echinacea for if you have a lot of stress and you kind of feel that your immune system is depleted due to that.
Will that help with allergies as well?
Some will. There are herbs that are more specifically acclimated towards allergies. For instance, goldenrod is a great herb, especially for like allergies that are caused by ragweed. Nettle has great antihistamine actions. There are stuff that are more geared towards allergies specifically, rather than like immune system.
I mean, you need to have a whole nother conversation about those things.
Yeah,
You'll
yeah.
have to come back and we'll have to talk about all of these things.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, we are running out of time, but I want to make sure that you guys know how to get a hold of Austin. It is brokenleaftea.com. It is Broken Leaf Tea and Apothecary on Facebook. He's really happy for questions. As always, there is a link in my bio, all the different ways that you can get in touch with me. Both of us deeply appreciate your business, your questions, and we're here to help you.
Absolutely.
Yes. So thank you for tuning in tonight. Thank you for rewatching this and for sharing it. And remember that this is the Gayle Tracey Mull Show, and I'm Gayle Tracey Mull, and blessed be.
Thank you for watching the Gayle Tracey Mull Show with Gayle Tracey Mull. If you enjoyed the show, please leave a like and comment and subscribe. Tune in next time on Pagan World TV.